We're keeping it together.
Keeping it together.
Together.
No, it's okay. Too far. Hi everyone, welcome back to
Hello.
Saintly Grind.
The saintly grind it is.
What did Father call it? Something coffee?
The coffee,
holy
something.
coffee.
Holy
Yeah,
something
the holy
coffee.
It's funny though how we still knew what he was saying.
Yeah.
We're like the Saintly Grind?
The saintly
Yeah.
grind. Oh yeah. That's it. That's it.
That's funny.
So we're at chapter 5 in the encyclical. I keep calling it an encyclical letter. There's a difference. In the apostolic letter of Saint Joseph. So this, the title of this chapter is, Erica, what's the title?
Sorry, a creatively courageous father.
A creatively courageous father. He was indeed.
Yeah. And I think before we get into this chapter right here, I think we should share a little bit about where did we see Jesus? Where did we creatively see Jesus this week? Word.
Well, I would have to say that I saw Jesus twice this week. Once in creation, I went for a walk early in the morning, and just to see the beautiful sky so early and pure, I felt like that was Jesus speaking to me. That was one. The second time I saw him was just yesterday, actually. My granddaughter called me to share a joke with me. It was, everybody who knows me knows I love cheesy jokes, and it was cheesy indeed. But just to hear her excitement to tell me the joke, it brought, a sense of peace to me at a very stressful moment of the day. And so I felt like that was Jesus saying, you know what, Yolanda, just relax and appreciate life and don't forget to laugh. And so for that, I was grateful that he was talking to me through her. He chose her to speak to me.
That's so nice.
I know, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So too?
Well, I was sharing earlier that my week isn't over yet, so there could still be another experience with Jesus or where I see Jesus. But I think in the beginning of this week, I saw him in a way of kind of telling me to calm down, or like in a moment where it's so stressful and so chaotic, just kind of like slow down. Don't say anything, like keep it to yourself. You got this, stay calm. I think that's when I saw him, and that was probably the beginning of the week. So far, I could still see him either later today, tomorrow, the next day, who knows.
Yeah.
But it's just like little moments like that. Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think for me, it was during the morning. I woke up like around 5, and I was kind of journaling in a hurry because I realized I needed to hurry up so I could get ready so I can come to work. And as I was journaling, I was kind of sitting there thinking like, I don't think this is beneficial at all because I'm not really focusing. I'm just doing it to do it in that moment. And so I put my journal down and I put on a song, and it just like wrecked me. Like I feel that Jesus was in that moment, like telling me everything's gonna be okay, like just trust, and I'm here, and look for me and in your day. And so yeah, then I couldn't do my makeup because then I was crying, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not doing that again.
And I have 15 extra minutes.
Well, yeah, I guess I could say I felt Jesus this week through that too. When I put music on, worship music on, and you just know that he's present. So, yeah. So I've had more than one encounter.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
On the way over here, since we have long drives,
No, yeah.
you know, you're like singing a whole album and everybody's just looking at you and you're just like, I'm praising Jesus. Don't look at me.
Well, it's better they look at you than not. They're kind of like, ooh. All right. Thank you for sharing. That was good. So that sharing actually is a part of our prayer as we continue this journey, because we're still opening our hearts to experience Christ, as Xochitl said. And being aware, I thought that was something too, another point that Erica shared, is looking for him. Like, we can't forget to also look for him and the messages that he continues to share with us. So, you know, make time during your day or whatever it is that you're doing to always look for him talking to you as well. So, very important to take time and be attentive to the time that you have in your life, not to take that for granted. I was also going to share that Erica had an experience where I felt Jesus, and I was surprised you didn't share. But Erica had an experience yesterday with a person. Yeah. With a person that was feeling sad, lonely, or depressed, all of the above, and wanted to spend time with Jesus. She just wanted to pray. And how beautiful to know that literally we have the keys to bring people to Christ. Like, you know, and the keys to the church. I think it's something that we just take for granted, you know, oh, where are my keys? Where are my keys? But we literally have the keys to bring people to Christ in the Adoration Chapel. And so when you were sharing that yesterday, I thought about that, like, wow, we have these keys, and they're not just keys. They are like the keys, you know?
Yeah.
And so how privileged and honored we should always be that we have these keys to share Jesus with everyone.
Yeah.
So,
I've never thought about it like that.
right?
I have my keys right here.
Right, close to your heart. Yay! So that kind of takes us right into the chapter 5, because that's being creative, and also it brings courage that St. Joseph had in his journey. So I find that to be very fascinating when we sit and truly reflect on the little things in life. And for me, the first paragraph at the end of this part, it's a very heartfelt paragraph, but yet very informative in our own responsibility in our journey with Christ. And it reads, "In the face of difficulty, we can either give up and walk away or somehow engage with it. At times, difficulties bring out resources we didn't even think we had." And I feel like that's tying into the keys, you know, like it was a difficult experience, maybe not for you, but for somebody else. And how did you take her out of that difficult experience? Well, you opened the key, or you grabbed your keys to open a door for her to feel serenity, you know, and I feel like we can never take that for granted, you know, whether it's here at church or at work, outside of the church. I work another job, and I had kind of a similar experience yesterday, in that I was approached by a coworker at the store, and she was asking me, or somebody was telling her that they knew that I would be able to just listen to counsel and to be aware. And I joked around about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And when I looked in her eyes, like, she was being sincere, and I thought, wow, that's not cool. Like, I mean, light of something that was important. So how did I, you know, creatively eat my words and take a step back to be able to embrace her need at that moment? And so we use our resources. And for me, oftentimes when I open my mouth when I shouldn't, you know, I immediately go to prayer, like, Lord, just use me and remind me of what I need to do or say, and ask for forgiveness, in what I messed up on. So I feel that that's so important to do. And ironically, that's what's mentioned throughout this chapter of the letter,
Yeah.
is how we acknowledge our shortcomings and what are we doing with those shortcomings.
Yeah. And I think that specific sentence, it brought me to Romans 5:3 that says we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that suffering produces perseverance. And for me, it was thinking of engaging with it. I just kept thinking, like, you have to embrace it. You have to embrace it, and remember that your afflictions are only going to produce endurance, and they're going to help you to keep continuing to make you the person that God intended you to be. Because all the situations that we face, the good, the bad, and the ugly, those are all things that help us to become those unique creations of God. Because we all go through different things, good and bad. And so those things that sometimes seem like very difficult, and you just want to run away and hide, or be on your own, be in your own space. How are we, or how am I was thinking, how am I embracing it, engaging with it, to continue on that path that God has for me. And that's where I was at the beginning with that, so yeah.
That's so, it's so important, I feel, when we don't think we know the answers, to be able to surrender and say, we don't know, or I don't know, and not to feel bad to say I don't know. But I feel like when you should feel bad in that situation is when you do nothing about the lack of knowledge. So if you go above and beyond to try to find the knowledge or the wisdom, then we should never be ashamed of saying, I don't know, because Jesus will open up that knowledge to us when we ask for it. We just have to be prepared to listen, and go to where He is calling us.
Be courageous.
And be courageous. Because oftentimes too, it's like we think we're doing the will of God and we're doing our own thing. And then, and He's like, I'm sure, it's that emoji where they're hitting their head, right? Because He's like, no, that's not what I'm telling you to do. But you ask for my help and you're not even listening for the answer. And, we still do our own thing. I had a meme come across my social media platforms this week that did share that too. Like, when you are asking for guidance, but you have your earpods on and you forget to listen and hear the request that you asked for. And I thought, good point. How often do I do that? Always.
That's so true.
That is, I think, and the other part of this chapter that called out to me was it was making me reflect on how I am as a friend. And because this section, like kind of in the middle, it talks about the creative courage that the friends of the I can never pronounce that word, paralytic. Okay. In Luke chapter 5, his friends really wanted him to get healed by Jesus, and there were big crowds, and there was no way that they could get his friend inside to see Jesus. So they thought outside the box,
literally
outside the house, and they brought his friend down, from the roof and put him right in front of Jesus. And so it says here, Jesus recognized the creative faith with which they sought to bring their sick friend to him. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, wow, how beautiful is that? And how am I being that friend to helping others get closer to Christ? And maybe not just necessarily with my friends, but with my family, with those that I encounter on a day-to-day basis. How am I going above and beyond to show them the love, the mercy, the compassion and all of the goodness that Jesus is, you know? And so, yeah, I don't know,
so
that was
true.
And you know, like looking around in your friends, in your group of friends, how are you helping them? I know that, at least for me in school, I never wanted to talk to my friends about my religion. You know, we talked about other things.
That probably weren't religious.
No, not religious, you know, I don't remember, but the advantage of getting older, you don't remember. But yeah, you know, like how are you guys being Jesus to somebody else? Or are you being surrounded, let's flip it around, are you being surrounded by people that are helping you to be this better person, to be this person that God created you to be? And I know it sucks, like sometimes I think back on my friendships, my past friendships, and I'm like, okay, well I know that this person didn't help me, this person didn't, and like now my circle of friends is like down to 5, you know, and I'm perfectly okay with that, because I know that those people are the ones that are helping me to grow in different areas of my life. So that's where it brought me to.
But I think it's true, you know, it's quality versus quantity.
Yes, yes.
You know, and the quality of the person is important too. I don't have a lot of friends. I have friends, but I wouldn't say, I have acquaintances. You know, I know a lot of people, but I have very few people I would call as best friends.
I have friends, but not best friends.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Or, you know, I mean, I think about that. How many of my friends would, you know, bring me through the roof to see Jesus? You know, I don't know. You know, I think very few of them. I think most of them would say, I'll pray for you. Yeah. I'll keep you in prayer. But very few of them will say, I'll put you on my back and take you to him. And so,
oh my gosh, that's visual.
So,
yeah, you know, it's true. And even on our social media platforms, how many times do we go through and we see people requesting prayers? You know, please pray, especially right now, pray for this, pray for that, pray for this person, what have you. But how many people would pray? Yeah. And sometimes I forget, I forgot to pray for so-and-so, you know, ask for prayer. And sadly, I kind of shy away from responding in case I do forget. Like, that's not cool either on my part, this confession. Like, I feel like if I don't respond and I forget to pray, that is okay. And the other day I had that moment where I'm like, that is so rude, you know, like, really? Yeah. That's where I'm at? Trying to justify my lack of prayer intention for other people. That's not cool. So now I do that. I remember everyone in prayer, and for those that I don't know, keep them in prayer, intentional prayer. But I feel like
for the intentions I saw during the day, and I can't remember who.
Yes.
Add them into your prayer.
Right. And then to remember that I have to put people on my back and take them to Jesus.
Oh yeah, that's so deep.
I know that visual of like having a friend just carry you, like let's say up the cross and up 74.
Up 74, right, in Pond Desert to the cross. Yeah. Or the tram.
I think, like how I said, I don't have best friends, I only have friends. Well, I do have best friends. And like you said, I could probably count them in one hand, and I still have fingers left up. Yeah. But I think, again, in high school or as we were younger, we didn't express our religious side. As we grew up and we encountered things, hardships, you know, whatever during life, because life isn't easy. I think that's been like we've been a definition of a good friendship because we've respected our religious, you know, side. And we're all Catholic too, so we can relate. But I wish when we were younger we could have talked about it more, because I think our faith would have been stronger than it is now.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think you know, we still talk about it. They're the ones asking, you know, pray for me because I need this, and I do it with a lot of like, oh, definitely, how can I not pray for you? Like, I want the best for you because you're my friend and I know you deserve, you know, everything. And I know that at one point, like, they were there for me that way too, so Like I said, when we're younger, we don't see it that way, but as you grow up, you get to define and like separate those people in your life.
Yeah. And I think because as we get older too, it's there's more difficulties, more challenges, and so those are the moments when we truly seek God. In those moments when things are difficult, and so I think that's where I feel I'm at with my friends too. You know, they're going through their journey, and now we have questions for each other. We talk about it, and I just think we get older and we're looking for.
We're more proud of expressing
We're
our love for
more.
Jesus. Yes.
For more.
Like back then, maybe we were, I don't like saying ashamed, but you know, like as a young person or a teenager, we kind of have like, oh, how am I gonna say I go to church every Sunday? You know, like it's, and I do I regret it? Yes, because I wish I could have been more open. Because like where I am now,
Right.
you know, like, now I work
Amen.
here, and people see
Yeah.
that, you know. But I don't feel ashamed about it. But back then, I kind of felt that little bit of shame, like to talk about me being Catholic.
Well, yeah, and I think that that's true. Bishop Barnes, in his amazing words of wisdom, shared one time, you know, if you're going to be a grocery store worker, be a Catholic grocery store worker. If you're going to be, you know, flipping hamburgers at In-N-Out, be a Catholic hamburger flipper, you know, and in the name of Jesus, you are good. But I just think that it's so important because for me, I have learned, okay, because this wasn't me back in high school or as even a young adult mom. I never really identified the need to have people see Jesus in me. And now that's the only thing I want is I want people to see Jesus in me. You know, I want them to know that Jesus is my identity. You know, that's, you know, who is Yolanda? Yolanda is a person who loves Jesus, you know, and so in my realness of all of the, you know, my sins and my daily journey, is that actually what happens? Probably not. Well, not even probably not. No, you know, it doesn't happen. Do I fall and do I fail? Yes, I do. But you know what? I always praise Jesus for his mercy over me, you know, and to know that, you know, because I feel like there are times where he's like, really, Yolanda, again? You know, like, sheesh balas, you know, we just had this conversation and you're asking me for the same thing. And I feel like that's the friend that I want to be for other people. That's the person, the creative side of myself for other people is, what do I want people to see in me, or who do I want people to see in me? I want them to see Jesus in me. And as St. Francis says, you know, not only in my words, but in my actions. You know, I shouldn't have to say words so that people can see Jesus in me. My actions speak louder than my words, you know. And I feel like we forget about that, you know, like, I have a person that I know, a friend that I know that, you know, doesn't want to put stuff on their car because they don't want people to know that they are a religious person. So when they make mistakes,
Oh my God.
when they make mistakes, it's like, oh, they, you know,
They're just a Catholic.
and they call themselves Catholic,
Oh,
you know.
over, oh, Catholic.
Yeah. So that's pretty funny because that's our realness, you know, that's our weakness in our journey. So yeah.
We have 3 minutes.
I totally. Can we just cut it and like keep going?
Yeah.
Is that cool? Okay. Sorry, editing mode. But no, because I feel that what you said is very powerful, and I appreciate your realness and how you feel, but I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna speak for myself. The way that I see you, you say that you feel every day, but that's not the way I see you.
Gosh.
Okay, there's tissues right
I
here.
know.
Um,
That one's easy. She touched it.
because, okay.
Oh,
I touched it. My gosh.
COVID.
COVID.
We have to be.
because I do see you being a person. I feel like I have learned a lot from you because you do go above and beyond for other people, and so yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I can't. You know, like you stay here longer than you need to because somebody's coming to get food, or somebody forgot their purse, and so you're waiting a little bit longer for that person. It's true, and so you know, to me, like I do see Jesus in you, and I feel that you're one of the people in my life that encourages me to open up the door for for those little things, you know, like just opening the chapel and things like that. So
Thank you.
yeah.
That's so funny.
Well, I think talking about Yolanda and her,
Oh my
you
God.
know, being an example. Remember, we were having the conversation yesterday about forgiveness.
No.
How
Yeah.
she showed us like a big example of forgiving yesterday.
Yeah.
We were like, that is just like God telling us, like, no matter what people do to you when they ask for forgiveness, you know, you're supposed to, because God, that's what Jesus does to us. He forgives. And so, you know, yesterday we used you as an example. We were talking, and we're like, wow, like, she's actually, you know, forgiving. Like, with that situation, we were, you know, even we were hurt. And it's just like, wow. Like, you just put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And you were such a good example. You know, like, wow, Jesus is telling. See, there was another encounter with Jesus. Yeah, like maybe he didn't, well, I mean, he touched us, but like using you. You know, like it was just yeah, so don't ever think you're not doing God's work and you're not being an example, because you are. And I'm pretty sure these people think about it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all like feel like we're in the shadows and nobody notices, but then there's like that one person that you just impact, and it's like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. And I think that's the beautiful thing about all of us humans in general, that we all have beautiful gifts and talents, and they're all different. And how God uses he uses our weaknesses, our brokenness, and he creates something so beautiful. And I think that's something that we talked about before, you know, because in the difficult moment we were living the other day, I was thinking to myself, like, man, thank God, you know, she's dealing with it, and I'm so sorry.
Thank God you got the phone
That
call.
sounded so bad.
Yeah.
Thank God she's going through this stuff, but in the way that, because if it would have been me, I don't think I would have handled the situation the way that you did. It was a difficult conversation, and yet you still brought Jesus to that conversation, to where I would have just been like, okay, I gotta go, bye, you know. And so that's what I mean, and thank God that, you know, God used you to get through to somebody else, even though it was a broken situation, you know, and it was a hurtful situation, but at the end of the day, there was forgiveness because of the words that were used, you know, and so it was just a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
Well, we were suffering and we were talking to God.
This was our conversation.
But see, I mean, thank you very much for saying that, but that is exactly my point, is we sometimes have expectation too of people, and so there are times where, you know, the humanness of a person shows more than the religious faithful side, you know, the servant side, and then we lose track, and then that person becomes is condemned. You know what I mean? Like, we had to be careful with that too, and for me, that's the other part of people seeing Jesus in me, because when I do fall, or when I fail in my thoughts, my words, and my actions, like, I don't want to let people down. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other side of this responsibility, is being kept in perspective, you know, because though we want to always see Jesus in one another, we also have to keep in mind that we're human. And I think that's a parenting thing. You know, like, you know, parents are supposed to know everything, and, you know, parents have all the right answers, and parents don't do anything wrong.
No, I'm not a parent.
But it's like, as a child, though,
Yeah,
you
would
never
have to-
saw flaws in your parents
Well, that's so true.
until you became older. You know,
And
and
now
then,
you think about it like, wow, I don't know how they did all of this.
right.
Yeah.
You know, and so I feel like that's just another part of this, and I feel like that's what Joseph was doing. You know, when he was called to be this servant, you know, he was afraid from the beginning. That's what we talked about when we started this. Is that where he was at and where he's at now? You know, in this journey of being responsible to protect. You know, we are also responsible in our journey to protect one another and to protect the will of God. You know, we can't ever let that go. Whatever that means for our own individual faith journey, we have a responsibility to protect those that we love and those that we don't love. You know, those that we don't love need more of our protection. You know, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but in the paragraph here towards the end, when he says that the child would go to say, as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me. And that's from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, when he's talking about this sense of suffering and lack of courage. You know, we have to be people, because if I'm going to ask you to be courageous and to be able to walk in this journey, then I too have to be, so that we're in it together. And I feel like that's something that gets lost in translation. Like, before we sit here and say, oh, well, Father has to be, or I didn't like Mass, you know, I didn't get anything out of Mass because I didn't understand Father. Well, it's not about what Father is saying. It's about what I heard him say, or I didn't hear him say. And that goes back to me, and shame on me and my responsibility. And I didn't know that before, because I would say Mass was boring too, until I realized that I make Mass boring. If Mass is boring, it's because it's something I'm not doing. And so I hold myself accountable that way. And I feel like that's kind of where this sense of protection is at, you know, and what Joseph was doing at the time is protecting Jesus and Mary, but also protecting the church, you know, and saying, look, own up to your responsibility, because I'm going to help you. I'm going to protect you, but you too have to protect me. And so when we are faced with difficulties in Mass, especially, you know, if we're zoning out or we don't get it or it's boring, then we need to go back and figure it out. What am I doing in that sense, you know, to make my responsibility more aware, you know, to be aware of my responsibility. And now with virtual Mass, we, you know, before we just leave church, right? And we couldn't change it. Now we can go back and watch it. And, you know, how cool is that? You know, in hindsight, that's another cup half full of COVID, you know, that we're able to virtually go back to church and see, well, if Mass was boring, what did I miss? And, you know, here at St. Teresa with Father John, Mass is 30 minutes, you know, and so we could go back and reflect on, well, what didn't I get out of it? And how can I change it?
Yeah.
So,
And I think you touched on many points in this one chapter, because it does talk about, it says here that the Son of the Almighty came into our world in a state of great vulnerability. He needed to be defended, protected, cared for, and raised by Joseph, who God trusted, as Mary did, who found in him someone who would not only save her life, but would always provide for her and her child. And immediately what came to my mind was the joyful mysteries and their journey, and I was just thinking of like how much, then I went into my self-conscious about, you know, like, how attentive am I during the rosary? But the other point that you touched about how it's our responsibility to care for others, it's also part of this too. And that's why St. Joseph is considered to be someone who's a protector of the needy, of the people that are exiled, afflicted, the poor, and the dying. And it brought me to think of the Corporal Works of Mercy, that are feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, shelter the homeless, clothe the naked, care for the sick, help the imprisoned, and bury the dead. And that's our responsibility, when we're thinking like, oh, well, what responsibilities do I have? Well, it is that, what you just read, taking care of our brothers and sisters who are in need. And sometimes, like this is a very controversial topic, but when it's like giving money to the homeless, it's like, oh, I don't want to give them because they're going to go spend it on stuff. Okay, well, that's not on you to, judge or to say what they're going to do. You don't know. Could it be bad? It probably could. But then if that's the situation and you don't feel comfortable, then one of the things I do, and not because I don't trust them, but because I don't carry cash, like, who cares?
Right.
I carry my
It's
credit card.
2021.
Yeah.
Cash. Like, that's a checkbook.
Wow.
I could sell you.
Yeah. Can I have your number? But one of the things that I do for myself is I just go inside and tell me what you want, what you need, what do you want, what do you need, and then go from there, because I don't have cash on me. But
They remind me to send her my list.
send me a grocery list right on the comment below. That's what's gonna get you guys to subscribe. Go for it. But yeah, like those are responsibilities. When you're thinking like, well, I don't know what to do, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Look, the Corporal Works of Mercy, coming and helping us here in the food pantry, helping us in just different areas of the church. That's your responsibility. So
I think you should put the Corporal Works of Mercy. You could list those so people can reflect, because really that's going to be your that's your homework for the next 7 days. Is how have you implemented the Corporal Works of Mercy each day? Maybe just take one at a time, and put something together in your life to think outside of the box. Nowadays we can't really go out and do a lot of service projects, but you certainly can do a lot of things for others without having to leave your house. So you be creative in that thought process and see, what can you do, or what have you done for Jesus lately, with your own family, or with your, be it the family under your roof or extended families. I love it because we had a parish council meeting this past week, and we were talking about mail, and how nobody mails anything out anymore. But what's a stamp? What side of the envelope does the stamp go on? How do you address an envelope? And I figured out that back in the old days when I was growing up, we had pen pals. Did you have pen pals in school?
Oh, I had it in first grade.
See, in first grade, well, there you have it. Where you would write to a person in a different school, and then the teacher would mail that, and you would exchange letters.
And you got a letter back from
the
stranger.
Yeah.
And how exciting it was to be able to open up your letter. Well, I'm finding that out about myself right now, is when I'm going to my mail and I'm getting cards in the mail, I'm all excited about it, like it's not something on a social media post. My birthday just recently passed, and I'm still getting birthday cards, and I'm like, woo, all excited.
Let's not send her emails anymore.
I know. Just send me a letter. But I find that to be those little things that just bring a smile to your face. So, and that's a corporal work of mercy, because you know what? You can maybe write a card, and the next time your parents go, or somebody goes to the store, you can just hand out the card, and it can just bring a smile to someone. So, or even write cards and bring them to the church, and we'll put them in the food bank, and we'll put them in the bags for the food. Lent is coming up, and those are things that we need to think about. So, are we good?
I think we
So,
are.
yeah.
I think we are. I know we went a little bit longer than usual, but you know, we just
It was a
I
good
know.
one.
yeah. When the Holy Spirit is present, the Holy Spirit is present, and you can't say go away.
No.
Time's up.
I love it. Well, don't forget to share our content, subscribe, the bell,
Yes.
and comment below. Let us know if you have any questions or you just want to say something. If you have advice, give us the advice. That would be great too. We're open to the conversation, okay? So grab a cup of coffee and sit with us next week.
Oh yes.
Alright.
If you drink coffee.
Yeah.
Or tea. You can have tea too. Or just water. Just put it in a coffee cup.
We won't know.
We won't know. God bless you all, and thank you for being here, and thank you for continuing this journey with us, okay? You be safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.